Welcome, dear listener. Tonight we journey beyond time, into a world where myths breathe and the heavens whisper ancient tales. This is Greece of old, a land where the sky was not only stars and clouds, but a kingdom watched over by a mighty presence. At its highest point stood Mount Olympus, veiled in eternal mist. The gods gathered there, shaping the fate of humankind with their voices. At the center of this divine council sat Zeus, majestic, watchful, unshaken, the God-King, master of thunder, guardian of order, father of gods and men. Yet Zeus is more than a name of power. His story is destiny, balance, and wisdom carried upon the storm. He is the vastness of the sky itself, the keeper of justice, a reminder that even chaos can hide harmony. In this tale, we follow his path, from hidden beginnings, through his rise to sovereignty, to the timeless lessons he leaves behind. So let us begin, where the clouds gather, where the thunder speaks, where the story of Zeus comes alive. Imagine a time before Olympus crowned the skies, a world raw and untamed, shaped by ancient forces older than memory itself. The Titans ruled then. Among them stood Cronus, the great king, whose reign stretched across the heavens, and whose word none could resist. Yet even mighty Cronus was haunted by fear. A prophecy whispered that one of his children would rise against him and take his throne. Cronus knew prophecy well. He himself had once overthrown his father Uranus. Now, he feared the same fate awaited him. So when his children were born, Cronus swallowed them whole. They did not die, but were locked away, hidden and voiceless within him. Hestia, Demeter, Hera, Hades, Poseidon, all taken before their light could shine, their promise silenced in darkness. Rhea, his wife, grieved deeply. Each birth brought her joy, stolen away in a heartbeat. She longed to save at least one child. When her sixth child was near, Rhea sought Gaia, the ancient earth. Together they devised a plan to defy Cronus's fear. When the child was born, Rhea wrapped a stone in swaddling clothes. She placed it in Cronus's hands as if it were the newborn. Cronus, blinded by dread, swallowed the stone without question. He believed destiny undone, never knowing he had been deceived. The real child, Zeus, was carried away. Across the seas to Crete, to a hidden cave upon Mount Ida, safe from the Titan's gaze. There, nymphs cared for him. His cradle hung from a tree. Neither earth nor sky could claim him. His cries masked by the dance of the Curetes. A gentle goat, Amalthea, nourished him. From her milk he grew strong. Her gift became legend, the horn of plenty, a symbol of endless bounty. The nymphs guided him. They taught him to walk, to laugh, to wonder. He learned the earth's secrets, the whisper of winds, the wisdom of waters. Though hidden, his spirit shone. He was no ordinary child, but the promise of change, the prophecy alive in the heart of a boy. Cronus ruled in false peace. He believed his throne secure, while the true heir grew quietly stronger each day. Not with malice, not with vengeance, but with purpose and the certainty of one chosen to bring balance to heaven and earth. The birth of Zeus is more than survival. It is hope in secret, love daring to defy fear, wisdom rising from the smallest beginnings. From Rhea's sorrow came dawn. From the care of nymphs, from the milk of Amalthea, came the strength of a god. His first breath marked not just a child's birth, but the birth of a future of thunder, justice, and a king of the sky. So began Zeus's story, not with thunder or lightning, but with the soft cry of an infant, hidden in a cave, safe from fear's grasp. This was the beginning of Zeus, the God-King. Years passed on Mount Ida. The hidden child grew into a young man. Zeus, no longer an infant, carried in his heart the spark of destiny. The nymphs who raised him saw his strength, but more than that, they saw his kindness. He laughed with them, listened to their songs, and learned their stories. Though born in secrecy, he grew without bitterness. Curiosity guided him, wisdom shaped him. His heart remained open to the world. Zeus loved the mountains of Crete. He climbed their peaks, listened to the winds, and watched the stars like watchful eyes above. He heard the thunder of storms. He heard the whisper of leaves. He felt the earth alive around him, and he wondered about his place within it. He knew he was different. He felt power within, a weight unnamed. The nymphs were gentle with his questions, but the truth remained hidden. Destiny, however, will not stay silent. One evening, as the sun painted the sky, Zeus asked aloud, "Who am I meant to be?" The wind seemed to answer, and soon Metis appeared. She was radiant, wise, and full of quiet strength. Metis revealed the truth. She spoke of Cronus, of the prophecy, of the brothers and sisters swallowed and trapped within their father. The nymphs bowed their heads. The secret was no longer hidden. The story of Zeus's birth unfolded before him. Zeus did not rage. He did not curse his fate. He sat in silence, his heart heavy with sorrow and wonder. At last, he asked one question: "What must I do?" Metis smiled. This was the heart of a leader. Not fear, not anger, but the search for the path forward. She told him of his destiny: to free his siblings, to bring balance, to restore harmony to the heavens. From that moment, Zeus prepared. He studied the sky. He listened to the storms. He learned how thunder gathered and lightning split the dark. He studied justice, how power must protect, not destroy, how strength must serve balance, not greed. Metis guided him. She taught him patience, strategy, and the art of decision. A leader, she said, must be both storm and calm. Zeus grew in strength and in wisdom. His voice deepened, his gaze sharpened, and his presence carried calm authority. Wherever he walked, the air seemed brighter, the earth steadier. Those around him felt his quiet strength and trusted him. Still, Zeus did not forget kindness. He cared for Amalthea, the goat who fed him. From her broken horn he blessed the land with plenty. He shared laughter with the nymphs. He walked among them not as a god above, but as a friend beside. This balance of power and gentleness set him apart. It was the mark of true leadership. At last, Metis told him the time was near. Cronus ruled in arrogance, blind to the truth, unaware of his son's strength. The prophecy stirred. The hour approached. Zeus would soon step from the shadows. He did not tremble. He looked at the storm clouds gathering. He felt the truth he had always known. He was not born to hide. He was born to lead. The rise of Zeus had begun, not in fear, not in vengeance, but in wisdom, courage, and quiet strength. For a leader is not made by power alone. A leader is one who bears destiny for the sake of others. This was the rise of Zeus, the leader who would become the God-King. High above the mortal world rose Mount Olympus. Majestic, crowned with eternal snow, it was said to be the place where heaven and earth touched hands. Cronus claimed the throne upon its peak. He sat in fear, ruling not with trust but suspicion, silencing even his own children swallowed in darkness. Yet the world does not stand still. In Crete, Zeus had grown strong. With Metis beside him, he was ready to step out of shadow and into destiny. His first task was not conquest, but compassion. His siblings remained trapped within Cronus. To lead, he must first free them. Metis prepared a potion, crafted from earth's roots and waters of renewal. Together, they planned not with rage, but with patience. Disguised as a servant, Zeus entered the hall of Cronus. The Titan, blind in arrogance, did not see destiny standing before him. Cronus drank the potion, and one by one, the lost gods returned: Hestia, Demeter, Hera, Hades, Poseidon, stepping into light after years of silence. For the first time, Zeus stood not alone but among family, the bonds of kinship restored, joy replacing sorrow. They turned their eyes to Olympus, no longer to hide, no longer to survive. The time had come to claim their place together. Zeus did not seize power with pride. He listened. His siblings spoke of their gifts: hearth, harvest, honor, sea, and unseen truths. When his turn came, Zeus spoke not of himself, but of them. Power, he said, is not to divide, but to unite. A throne is for all. In that moment, they saw him as more than a brother. They saw him as the one who could guide them. Together, they raised Zeus to the throne of Olympus. Thunder rolled, not in anger, but in celebration. Lightning promised a new beginning. The throne was no longer a seat of fear. It became a symbol of balance, where gods and mortals would be watched over with care. This was not the end of Zeus's story. It was the beginning. The crown brought trials, choices, and lessons yet to come. But on that day, destiny was fulfilled. The hidden child had become a king. The leader had become a guardian. And the heavens themselves welcomed their God-King. From the throne of Olympus, Zeus looked upon the world. Power was his, but it was more than a crown. It was the weight of choice, of balance, of justice. Justice is not born in thunder or lightning. It lives in fairness, in choices, in the quiet question of what is right and what is wrong. The gods rejoiced in freedom. Their laughter rang through Olympus. Yet even in joy, questions remained. How to rule, how to share, how to guide. Zeus knew power alone was not enough. He spoke to his siblings. We are free not to rule alone, but to rule together. Each gift must find its place. The first council of the gods was held. Hestia chose the hearth, Demeter the harvest, Hera honor and family, Poseidon the seas, and Hades the underworld. Balance was restored. Zeus claimed the sky, the wide heavens, thunder and lightning, not as weapons, but as symbols of order and justice. Yet justice was not for gods alone. Mortals too deserved it. Though small, they carried a spark of creation. They built, dreamed, and needed protection. Zeus became their watcher. When kings grew arrogant, thunder warned them. When oaths were broken, lightning spoke. Travelers found safety under his gaze. Among gods, conflict stirred. Some sought freedom to do as they pleased. Others dismissed mortals as weak. Zeus stood firm. Strength protects the powerless. Mortals prayed to him, not only as Lord of the sky, but as the keeper of justice. They trusted his storms to bring fairness, not fear. Zeus carried this role with care. He learned justice needs patience. Mercy can be as strong as thunder. A ruler must choose the harder path for good. He remembered Medus's words. A leader must be both storm and calm. His thunder shook the skies, but his silence often brought peace. Justice, he learned, is balance. Balance between gods and mortals, between strength and compassion, between chaos and harmony. The throne alone does not make a king. Justice does. That is why Zeus was not only the god of thunder, he was the keeper of justice. The skies themselves remembered. Every lightning flash was not only storm, but promise. Every thunder roll was not fear, but judgment and care. For justice is not a weapon, it is a light, and under that light the reign of Zeus began to shine. From his throne, Zeus looked upon the vast world. Seas shimmered, forests whispered, and mortals lived their days beneath the watchful sky. The gods were free, each with their domain. Balance had returned. Yet freedom and power were only beginnings. The greater challenge lay in unity, for even gods carry pride. Even immortals must learn to share, to listen, to trust. Olympus became not just a throne, but a family. Zeus turned first to his siblings. He freed them from silence, but now he must walk beside them as equals, in respect and in strength. Hestia, gentle keeper of the hearth, taught him that warmth is as powerful as thunder. From her, he learned the strength of peace. Demeter, goddess of harvest, showed him that abundance must be nurtured, not commanded. Life flourishes when cared for with patience. Poseidon, restless master of the seas, gave him rivalry and respect. The oceans were untamable, yet needed to balance the skies above. Hades, quiet guardian of the underworld, taught him dignity. Even death holds meaning. for it carries the souls of mortals with care. And Hera, strong and wise, stood closest to him. In her he found both challenge and partnership. Together, they shaped Olympus into order. Their union was not without storms. Love among gods is fierce, often tested, yet from each trial, respect and strength grew deeper. Olympus thrived. Its halls echoed with laughter, with songs of the muses, with the beauty spread by the graces, with seasons kept by the hours. From this mountain, the gods looked upon mortals. They saw their struggles, their dreams, their fears. Some blessed them, others tested them. Through it all, Zeus reminded his kin, the role of gods is not to dominate, but to preserve balance between divine power and human life. Yet unity was fragile. The gods quarreled, their pride sometimes burning brighter than their wisdom. Olympus shook with their voices. Zeus knew bonds must be mended, not broken. He listened, he judged, and reminded them of the harmony they had once fought to win. Olympus was built not of stone, but of trust, of shared purpose, of the promise that together they were stronger than apart. For Zeus knew this truth. Power divided is fragile, but power shared becomes unshakable, like lightning needing both cloud and sky. The bonds of Olympus grew. Brothers, sisters, allies, and friends each found their place in the great design of the heavens. Their stories unfolded in joy and in rivalry. But always, they were bound by the mountain that touched the sky. Zeus was not only king, he became father of a divine family, one that shaped both gods and mortals alike for all time. The laughter of gods became thunder, their songs became whispers of wind. Their quarrels shook the earth, but their unity brought light. Olympus became eternal, not only a mountain, not only a throne, but a symbol of bonds unbroken and strength shared. For even the strongest god cannot rule alone. Even lightning must share the sky with stars. Zeus knew his reign lived in the bonds of Olympus. From Olympus, the gods gazed upon the mortal world. Fields stretched wide, rivers shimmered, mountains rose, and seas reached into the horizon. Zeus sat on his throne and watched them. Mortals lived brief lives, yet their hopes burned bright. Their strength was not power, but courage to create and endure. The gods debated their role. Some spoke of rules, others of blessings. Zeus listened. At last, he chose balance. "We will give them gifts," he said, "but not to make them gods, to help them become the best of mortals." With this, the gifts of the gods were woven into the world. Hestia gave them the hearth, fire to warm homes, cook meals, and gather families. A flame that meant safety, peace, and belonging. Demeter gave them harvest. She taught them to sow seeds, care for fields, and trust the rhythm of seasons. From her came abundance and patience. Poseidon, fierce yet generous, gave them the seas. He showed them how to build boats, ride waves, and explore. From him came challenge and discovery. Hades gave them reverence for life's end. He whispered that death is not an ending, but a passage. His gift was respect for life's brief flame. Hera gave them family. She placed in their hearts the bonds of love, marriage, and trust. Her gift was loyalty and promises kept. Zeus gave them justice. He offered the sense of right and wrong, the power of oaths, and the weight of fairness. His thunder reminded them that choices matter. Together, these gifts shaped mortal life. Fire, harvest, sea, reverence, family, justice. Threads woven into the story of humankind. Mortals welcomed them with awe. They built homes around hearths. They planted fields and trusted the earth. They sailed seas, seeking new horizons. They honored family, remembered the dead, and lifted their eyes to the skies. Their lives carried the whispers of divine gifts. Songs rose from villages, prayers echoed in temples, offerings filled altars. Not in fear, but in gratitude. The gods were guardians, not tyrants. But Zeus reminded his kin, our gifts must not make them dependent. We light the way. They must walk it. The gods agreed. Gifts without challenge lose value. So trials came with blessings. Storms tested sailors. Winters tested farmers. loss tested families. Through trials, mortals grew. They rose after storms, planted after famine, healed after grief. Struggles shaped them, not broke them. Zeus watched with pride. He saw resilience, he saw courage, he saw hope, and he knew their brief lives shone brighter for it. The world became a reflection of Olympus. Not perfect, not without struggle, but balanced. Alive with gifts, trials, and lessons. The gods had given more than blessings. They had given mortals hope. And in hope, even the smallest flame can outshine darkness. From Olympus, laughter echoed like wind through the world. Mortals lifted their eyes and felt less alone beneath the heavens. The gifts of the gods were not only blessings, they were bridges. Bridges between heaven and earth, between mortal and divine. And under the watchful gaze of Zeus, those bridges would endure forever. From Olympus, Zeus watched mortals thrive with fire, harvest, and family. Yet he saw confusion, for gifts alone could not guide every choice. Villages grew, cities rose, and disputes followed. Whose land was whose? Whose word was true? Mortals wrestled with fairness, lost in storms of conflict. Zeus felt the weight of this. Lightning without law is chaos. Power without principle is tyranny. The world needed order, not domination. He called the gods together in Olympus's shining halls. Mortals have gifts, he said. But gifts without rules are fragile. Let us give them laws. The gods listened. Some nodded, others questioned. For law, like lightning, can both light the way and burn. Yet they trusted Zeus to lead. The first law was the law of oaths. A promise must be honored. Words are bridges. To break an oath is to shatter trust, and trust is life's foundation. The second law was the law of hospitality. Welcome the stranger, share bread and safety, for in the wanderer's face may dwell a god or your own future. The third law was the law of justice. The strong must not crush the weak. The ruler must not forget the ruled. Justice is balance, and balance guards the world. The fourth law was the law of reverence. Honor the divine, not only gods, but sea, sky, earth, and life. Reverence binds mortals to what is greater than themselves. The fifth law was the law of family. Protect your own, respect parents, cherish children, honor your partner. Family is the hearth that keeps hope alive. These were not chains, but pillars. They lifted mortals rather than bound them. With these laws, humanity found a compass for living. Mortals felt Zeus not only in storms, but in choices. When they kept hard promises, when they welcomed strangers, when leaders chose fairness over pride, these were the true thunders of Zeus. Not lightning in the sky, but voices in the soul, reminding mortals of honor, kindness, and truth. Zeus knew laws would be tested. Mortals are free, and freedom tempts. Promises would break, justice falter, strangers be turned away. In such times, his thunder spoke, not punishment, but reminder. A voice echoing, "Remember who you are. Remember the path you were given." The laws were not cages, they were guideposts. Mortals still chose freely, but now with wisdom whispered by Olympus itself. With laws, villages became communities, and communities grew into nations. Nations thrived, bound by oaths, reverence, family, justice, and hospitality. Above them, the sky shone. Zeus smiled upon their striving, for he knew this truth. Power creates order, but law creates meaning. Without law, the brightest gift fades. With law, even the smallest act carries the spark of eternity, lighting the path for generations to come. The laws of Zeus lived on, not carved in stone, but etched in hearts. And through them, his voice echoed across all ages. The gifts had been given, the laws had been spoken. The world began to flourish under the gaze of Olympus. Yet Zeus knew this truth. Gifts shine brightest when tested, and laws matter most when challenged. Mortals were free. Freedom was both blessing and burden. Wisdom had been planted, but could it take root? So trials rose, like waves against the shore, shaping humanity with each crash and retreat. The first test was pride. A king forgot fairness, built walls high, gathered wealth, and sought worship greater than the gods. Zeus watched, silent as the sky before a storm. Pride cracked his kingdom from within. His people turned away, weary of fear. From ruins, they remembered reverence, and balance returned. The second test was greed. Merchants hoarded wealth, turned strangers away, and measured life in coins. Zeus sent no thunder. He let their hearts grow restless, empty despite their gold. Only when they shared bread, stories, and shelter did joy return, and laughter warmed the world again. The third test was fear. Mortals built walls of suspicion, dividing neighbor from neighbor. Zeus watched with sorrow. Fear was the hardest trial, whispering that difference meant danger. But walls kept out more than threats. They kept out wisdom, friendship, and love. Slowly, gates opened. Strength was found not in isolation, but in unity. These were not punishments, but lessons woven into life's rhythm. Zeus did not demand perfection, only growth. Each stumble taught mortals to rise taller. Soon they saw him not only in thunder, but in quiet trials of every day. When pride whispered, they remembered reverence. When greed tempted, they recalled hospitality. When fear crept in, they chose trust. Each choice echoed with divine weight. Gods shaped seas and skies, but mortals shaped destiny with courage and kindness. Zeus watched with pride deeper than storms. Trials refined humanity, like fire refines gold. His greatest gift was not fire, law, or blessing, but the chance to rise after trials, to stumble, yet rise, to falter, yet learn, to shine like stars beneath the endless sky. The sky stretched endless above, the sea shimmered below, and the earth thrived in between. Mortals had grown, tested by pride, greed, and fear. They stumbled, they rose, and they learned. Their journey was not theirs alone, for the gods themselves walked beside them. The bond between heaven and earth was not one of distance, but of weaving. Zeus, the God-King, was the thread that bound it all. He had given gifts, spoken laws, and watched over trials. But now came the deeper question. Could mortals and gods live in harmony? Zeus believed they could. For though gods were eternal and mortals brief, both longed for meaning. Meaning was found not in separation, but in connection. So Zeus encouraged moments where the divine touched the human. A whisper in a dream, a courage in the heart of a shepherd, a spark in the mind of a poet. These were not grand miracles, but quiet bridges. Mortals sensed the gods were not far, but near, woven into breath, thought, and hope. At the same time, gods learned from mortals. Though mighty, they saw in humans the urgency of life's short span. Every choice mattered because time was fleeting. Every joy was brighter because it could end. From mortals, gods learned to treasure. Zeus cherished this exchange, where wisdom flowed both ways. The sky taught the earth to reach upward. The earth taught the sky to treasure each fleeting moment. Yet not all was simple. Mortals sometimes questioned the gods, and gods sometimes doubted mortals. Zeus knew trust must be built. As carefully as fire tended through the night, so he revealed himself not always as king, but as guardian. When storms broke, he reminded mortals of their strength. When justice wavered, he stirred their hearts toward fairness. When hope dimmed, he lit the horizon with dawn. In return, mortals offered more than prayers. A farmer honoring his oath was as sacred as an altar. A mother teaching kindness was as holy as a hymn. The bond was living. It breathed through every choice, every song, every act of love. It was not perfect, but it endured, as strong as the sky that shelters the earth. In this bond, Zeus found his truest reign, not in thunder alone, nor in fear, nor in blind worship, but in partnership, gods and mortals, different yet united. He ruled not as tyrant, but as bridge, not as distant master, but as father of both power and patience. The world grew brighter. Mortals felt less alone, and gods felt less proud. This was the harmony Zeus sought, a chorus of heaven and earth, each voice distinct, yet singing one song. And above it all, the thunder rolled not as command, but as reminder. Connection is the truest strength. Olympus stood tall, its peaks wrapped in eternal light, yet even here, shadows stirred. Being king among gods was not a crown of pure glory. It was a burden, heavy as the sky itself. Zeus carried that weight. From the moment he rose against chaos, the throne was his. Ruling was not only about storms and laws, it was about choices, and choices were never simple. Mortals prayed for rain, but too much rain brought floods. Sailors prayed for winds, but strong winds could sink ships. Farmers prayed for sun, but too much sun meant drought. Zeus listened to all, yet every gift to one was a trial to another. He learned power was not about pleasing all, but about balance. Balance, not favor, was the act of a king. Even among gods, disputes rose. Poseidon sought seas. Hera guarded family. Athena demanded wisdom. Each voice was strong, each will unyielding. And in the center stood Zeus, holding them together. He was not untouched by doubt. Nights came when thunder slept, and he asked himself hard questions. Am I just ruler or tyrant? Do I guide or do I command? In quiet hours, he walked Olympus. Stars stretched infinite, reminding him how small even a god might feel. In silence, he remembered why he bore the crown. It was not for worship. It was not for fear. It was for stewardship, for keeping harmony of sky, sea, and earth. Zeus knew power without humility corrodes, so he tempered lightning with patience. He tempered command with listening, and when storms broke, he tempered fury with mercy. The burden was heavy, yes, but within the burden was beauty. What greater honor than to guide gods and mortals, to guard the flame of life itself? The crown of Zeus was not gold, but cloud and thunder. Not jewels, but responsibility. Every choice he made echoed through mountains, oceans, hearts, and nations. His shoulders ached beneath eternity, yet he bore it willingly. Kingship was not about being served, but about serving. Not about ruling above, but lifting all beneath. This was the heart of Zeus's reign. A burden, yes, but chosen. A weight, yes, but carried with pride and love. As long as the sky stretched vast above the world, the crown would remain, resting on the one who carried both storm and hope in his hands. High upon Olympus, the winds whispered of time's passing, and even Zeus felt the weight of ages. What is power, if not used to shape a legacy? What is eternity, if not filled with meaning? Zeus knew storms fade and victories quiet, but values could outlive even thunder. So he built his reign not on conquest, but on example, shaping a legacy through order. Mortals looked to him not only as a wielder of lightning, but as a guardian of justice. When kings swore oaths, they sought fairness, not only fear of punishment. When families prayed, they asked for guidance, not only protection. The legacy of Zeus was not carved in stone, but lived in the rhythm of life. It was present in laws kept, in promises honored, in mercy shown by mortals. His children carried parts of that legacy too, each embodying a piece of his will. Athena gave wisdom, reminding all that strength must walk with intellect. Hermes brought swiftness, teaching adaptability and cleverness of spirit. Even his storms carried meaning, each thunderclap a reminder of divine presence. On Olympus, his rule gave unity, holding gods together in moments of rivalry. He was not flawless, but he was steady, and steadiness held chaos away. Legacy, Zeus knew, was not about perfection, but about persistence. It was about planting seeds, about keeping the flame alive for others to guard. He often wondered if mortals saw him not as ruler, but as presence above. Perhaps his greatest gift was not lightning, but assurance that order remained. As centuries passed, temples rose and poems sang his name. One day they would fall, but memory would endure beyond stone and song. True legacy was not marble or myth, but values carried in human hearts. When thunder rolled, mortals felt more than fear, they felt reassurance. For thunder meant the God-King still kept his watch above the trembling world. He would be remembered not for power alone, but for what he preserved. His legacy was divine, yes, but also human, alive in oaths and prayers. As long as skies stretched vast, his truth would endure above all. Strength exists to protect, order exists for peace, and power must serve the greater good. Thus, the legacy of Zeus endured, not in storm alone, but in the steady rhythm of life. The story of Zeus does not end with storms or thunder. It stretches onward, as vast as the sky itself. He was not merely the god of lightning. He was the sky, the law, the breath between heaven and earth. Ages passed. Civilizations rose and fell. Temples crumbled. Songs faded. Yet Zeus lingered in the rhythm of the world. His story lived not only in myths, but in the way mortals lifted their eyes to the heavens. In thunder, they felt his voice. In the sun, they felt his patience. In the stars, they felt his steady gaze. The truths he embodied did not change. Balance remained sacred. Justice remained necessary. Reverence endured. These were not carved in stone. They were written into the fabric of life itself. Zeus became more than a ruler of Olympus. He became a symbol of wisdom, justice, and renewal. When mortals gathered beneath the open sky, they still felt him, a presence, eternal and unseen. His legacy lived in inspiration, not fear. Farmers trusted the rain. Leaders sought justice. Families prayed for protection. His reign was not about conquest, but stewardship. He kept harmony and held chaos at bay. The gods themselves carried his lessons forward, each reflecting a part of his will. Athena offered wisdom. Hermes carried swiftness. Hera guarded family and vows. Behind them all was Zeus, the steady hum of the sky, uniting them through purpose. The eternal sky itself became his temple. Every star, every cloud whispered his story. His voice was not always thunder. Sometimes it was silence, calm, and steady presence. The greatest kings do not demand memory. They leave it naturally, carried in hearts and stories. Zeus was such a king. His presence stretched beyond Olympus, into the essence of existence. As long as the sky remains above, so too will Zeus. Not only in thunder, but in the calm after. Not only in storms, but in the peace that follows. The God-King is eternal, not because of a throne, but because he is woven into life itself. His story teaches that power must be guided by care, and justice is the root of peace. Hope, like the sky, stretches beyond all limits. Thus the tale of Zeus continues, not as an ending, but as an endless song. A song written in thunder and sunlight, carried by winds, whispered in every prayer to the open sky. The eternal sky remembers, and so do we.